Welcome to Uda Repo. Today we're diving into a story you think you know, but probably don't. It's a tale of innovation, forgotten triumphs, and a technology that was a century ahead of its time. We're talking about the electric car. When you think of electric cars, you probably picture a sleek, modern vehicle humming silently down the street. But what if I told you that in the year 1900, electric cars were the most popular type of vehicle on the road? This is the forgotten history of electric cars. Our story begins not in the 21st century, but way back in the 1830s. Innovators across Europe and the United States were captivated by the new science of electricity. A Scottish inventor named Robert Anderson is credited with creating the first crude electric carriage around this time. It wasn't a car as we know it today, of course. It was more of an experiment, powered by non-rechargeable primary cells. But the seed of an idea was planted, a horseless carriage that moved without the noise, smoke, and vibration of a steam engine. Throughout the mid-1800s, various inventors tinkered with the concept. French physicist Gaston Planté invented the rechargeable lead-acid battery in 1859, a monumental breakthrough. This made the idea of a practical electric vehicle suddenly seem possible. Fast forward to the late 1800s, and the world was on the cusp of a transportation revolution. Cities were growing, and people needed ways to get around that were faster and cleaner than a horse and buggy. The first truly successful American electric car was built in 1890 by a chemist named William Morrison in Des Moines, Iowa. His vehicle was a 6-passenger wagon that could reach a top speed of about 14 miles per hour. It was a sensation, proving that electric propulsion was a viable alternative. By the turn of the 20th century, the automotive age had dawned, and it was a three-way race. The contenders were steam, gasoline, and electricity. And for a while, electricity was the clear frontrunner. In 1900, electric cars accounted for a staggering 38% of all automobiles in the United States. They were followed by steam-powered cars at 40%, leaving gasoline-powered vehicles in a distant third place with only 22% of the market. Think about that for a second. At the dawn of the automotive era, electric cars weren't a niche product, they were the mainstream choice for many buyers. So why were they so popular? The answer lies in their advantages over the competition. Compared to gasoline cars of the era, electric vehicles were practically miracles of convenience. They didn't produce smelly, noxious exhaust fumes. They were quiet, running with a gentle hum instead of the deafening roar of an internal combustion engine. Most importantly, they were easy to start. An electric car started with the simple flip of a switch. A gasoline car, on the other hand, required a difficult and often dangerous hand crank to get the engine to turn over. These cranks could kick back with enough force to break an arm. Electric cars were seen as the clean, sophisticated, and user-friendly option. They were especially popular with urban drivers who didn't need to travel long distances and appreciated the ease of operation. Car companies like Detroit Electric and Baker Motor Vehicle produced elegant, well-appointed EVs that became status symbols among the wealthy. But this golden age was not to last. Several factors conspired to push the electric car from its throne and into obscurity for nearly a century. The first major blow was the discovery of vast oil reserves, particularly in Texas. Suddenly, gasoline, which had been a relatively expensive byproduct of refining kerosene, became incredibly cheap and abundant. This made fueling a gasoline car far more economical than charging an electric one. At the same time, road infrastructure was rapidly improving. People were no longer content with short trips around the city, they wanted to travel cross-country. This exposed the electric car's biggest weakness, its limited range and the lack of a charging infrastructure. You could find gasoline almost anywhere, but finding a place to plug in your electric car for several hours was nearly impossible outside of your own home. The dream of the open road belonged to the gasoline car. However, the final, decisive nail in the coffin came from one man and his revolutionary vision, Henry Ford. In 1908, the Ford Motor Company introduced the Model T. It wasn't the fastest, most powerful, or most luxurious car on the market. But it was something far more important, it was affordable for the masses. Ford's pioneering use of the moving assembly line drastically cut production costs. While a typical electric roadster could cost over $1,700, the Model T's price dropped to as low as $260 by the mid-1920s. For the first time, the average American family could afford an automobile. And the Model T wasn't just cheap, it was also rugged and reliable. It was designed to handle the poor rural roads that made up most of the country. Then came one last, crucial invention. In 1912, Charles Kettering introduced the electric starter motor. This single device eliminated the dangerous and strenuous hand crank, erasing the electric car's primary advantage and convenience. With the press of a button, a gasoline car could now start as easily as an electric one. The combination of low price, long range, readily available fuel, and easy starting was unbeatable. By the 1930s, the electric car was all but extinct. The once dominant technology was relegated to a forgotten chapter of automotive history, remembered only as a quirky dead end. For the next several decades, gasoline reigned supreme, and the internal combustion engine became the undisputed heart of the automobile. The idea of electric cars didn't completely vanish, of course. It resurfaced briefly during the oil crises of the 1970s, as people looked for alternatives to expensive gasoline. But the battery technology simply hadn't advanced enough to make them practical. The cars were slow, had abysmal range, and were more like glorified golf carts than true automobiles. So, the world continued on its path, powered by fossil fuels. It took another major shift in global consciousness for the electric car to get its second chance. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, concerns about air pollution, climate change, and our dependence on oil began to grow. People started looking for cleaner, more sustainable transportation solutions. And this time, technology was ready to provide an answer. The key was the lithium-ion battery. Developed in the 1980s and commercialized in the 1990s for consumer electronics like laptops and cell phones, these batteries were much lighter and more energy-dense than the old lead-acid batteries. They could store enough power to give a car a respectable range. A few major automakers experimented with EVs in the 90s, but it was a small, ambitious startup from Silicon Valley that would truly change the game. In 2008, a company called Tesla Motors launched the Roadster. It was a high-performance electric sports car that could go from 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds and had a range of over 200 miles on a single charge. The Roadster shattered the stereotype of the electric car as a slow, boring, and impractical vehicle. It proved that an EV could be exciting, desirable, and viable for everyday use. It was a hello world moment for the modern electric vehicle. Tesla's success with the Roadster, and later with mass-market vehicles like the Model S, spurred the entire automotive industry into action. Suddenly, every major car manufacturer was investing billions of dollars into developing their own electric vehicles. Today, we are in the midst of the second electric car revolution. The technology that was once killed by the Ford Model T is back, stronger and more advanced than ever. Battery costs are falling, ranges are increasing, and charging infrastructure is expanding across the globe. The journey has been a long one, spanning more than a century. From being the dominant force in 1900, to disappearing into obscurity, to making a triumphant comeback in the 21st century, the story of the electric car is a powerful reminder. It shows us that a good idea never truly dies. Sometimes, it just has to wait for its moment to shine. The future of the automobile, it seems, looks a lot like its forgotten past. If you found this journey through history interesting, please consider subscribing to Uday Repo for more stories about the hidden side of technology and innovation. Thanks for watching.